Facebook Live always takes out like the first couple seconds anyway.
Mm.
Yeah. We are live.
Hooray.
Welcome in, guys. Excited to talk about how to navigate the storm of life. But before we do, as always, I'm going to tag everyone in here, wait for it to populate so that we can hopefully reach more people with this. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Charity, you know what I just noticed?
What?
We're at 8,300 members, registered nurses in the group.
Yay! Hooray! Celebration. That's awesome.
That's crazy, like to think about, you know? I know that many don't see these videos, but it's quite all
Still,
right.
they're there somewhere, so when they need to, they will.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know, it's really just about having one person, you know, being able to make an impact with just one person. But okay, I made that tag. Let's hop in. How to navigate the storm of life. What the heck are we talking about there? Do you want to start us off with what we're talking about?
We were just talking about the goals that you kind of set for yourself on the days when maybe you're really sick, or you just worked 4 shifts in a row, and gifting yourself some grace that you're maybe not on point, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily stopping. You just are slowing down a little bit with intention, and then getting right back into like your normal healthy routine when things kind of mellow out and settle out.
Yes. So starting with this idea that like, I feel like there's a fallacy for a lot of us that are looking to transform our body and sustain it forever. And that fallacy is that when you are on, you're 100% on. Oh, you're just always on. Like once I break through, I'm always on. And that is a fallacy. It is 100% not true. And with that belief, we will really be hurting ourselves because we're going to be feeling way less motivated because we're going to feel like we're failing. So what we're talking about is the fact that life will not always be sunny. There will be storms. And some of the storms that you just talked about were, okay, you're working more shifts than usual. What were some of the other? You're sick.
Somebody else is sick. You're taking care of a sick family member. The basement's flooded. I don't know.
Basement's flooded. These are all good. I like it.
I don't know.
All your food spoiled because your refrigerator went out, whatever.
Who knows? Do we want to list the doom
muscle? Right. I mean,
right.
Whatever they are, what do we do during that time? And I think that naturally what people typically do is they say, well, I can't be perfect. So let me just wait until the storm is past to do anything.
Right.
Right. And I think that that is something that really hurts this identity we're creating, right? Which is ultimately how we're going to be able to sustain this journey forever, but also hurts us in the short term because we don't feel good when that's happening. We do have a comment that just came in from Marissa. Marissa, good to see you this morning. She says, I'm in the 11 weeks postpartum storm. Woo! What is that like? I have one child, but I've never given birth. What is the storm that you're experiencing right now? Would love to hear more about it. Charity, what is so anyway, I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
No, I think you touched on some really good points, like that perfectionism thinking or that all or nothing, on or off. We live more in that gray space, which is where all the color is and things, but it's also where the discomfort lies. So if we just think, just like if you fall off, I don't like that phrase, fall off the wagon, then you can kind of get really down and disparaging on yourself. And then just like you're saying, then that adds into a negative place into your identity. But what if you're like, no, you know what? While I was going through this storm, I still kept up with my water and I still walked around the block. I mean, they seem so small, but yet they're still significant because they have those positive ripples and it's still feeding into that characteristic that you want to have as a healthy lifestyle, as the person that you are becoming. And so if you're practicing it.
Yes. So what I'm gathering from what you just said is a few things. The first thing is we can shift what we focus on. So even if we didn't do anything different, how to navigate the storm. Let's say these things are happening, right? Refrigerator shut down, your food goes away, you're working more, you're feeling sick, you're taking care of a sick family member, whatever the demands of life are being weighed upon you. Sometimes we don't even need to do anything differently, meaning you can do a little bit less, focus on maybe we talk a little bit about that. What are the biggest levers to focus on? If you do need to hunker down, if you can't be doing everything that you had been doing because of time, energy, or whatever, what are the main things that you would prioritize? Maybe even have your clients prioritize. And I'm sure it's subjective, but maybe give some general examples. And then also, I'm sure it's also what we can focus on, right?
Mhm.
Because what we focus on is what we feel. And the mind is like a heat-seeking missile. You give it something to focus on, and it will go there.
Mhm.
So maybe some cognitive behavioral therapy is part of that as well. But go
Mhm.
for
The things I guess I would focus on, or I would encourage people: sleep, how you're
it.
managing your
Yes,
stress, and water.
100%.
Mhm.
So wait, but what about my exercise? Like, don't I always have to exercise? If I stop exercising, don't I just like lose all this muscle and go back in a week to where I started?
Honestly, if I had to choose between, like, if I'm trying to prioritize, my next priority would be what you put on your fork and not how often you move
100%.
your feet. So, I mean,
100%.
but I'm not saying movement isn't important, but I do
Right.
think as far as priorities go, those would be my top four.
Yes.
Exercising.
And I do feel, that there is this overemphasis on exercise very early
Mhm.
in a program.
Right.
If I was looking at a pyramid of priority with everything, sleep, nutrition, exercise, all these pieces, exercise gets the most hype. Oh, you got to exercise. You got to move your body. Because to lose weight, you have to burn more calories than you eat. And they hear the word burn and they think, I just got to burn. But really, it's a lot more efficient to just eat less.
Right.
It's a lot more efficient to lose weight anyway. It's a lot more efficient in the short term to
Mhm.
just increase your high volume food you're eating so you're less hungry, increase your
Mhm.
protein intake.
Right.
Because if you think about, and the reason I say it's more efficient is because think about how long it takes for you to burn 250 calories, and think about how quickly it is for you to eat 250
Yeah.
calories. 250
Mhm.
calories you can eat in a couple minutes depending on what you're eating. If it's a
Right.
piece of chocolate, you can eat that thing sucker in a minute. I mean, I can at
Mhm.
least. If
Mhm.
you can't, you got to get your numbers up. You got to try harder. But it takes like sometimes 30 minutes to an hour to burn 250 calories depending on your
Right.
activity.
Mhm.
So okay, sleep, I like that. And why sleep? So why start with sleep, right?
Because when you
Why
don't
would
get
that
enough
be a
sleep, it makes
priority?
everything harder.
Yes.
Right? Everything is harder when you don't get enough sleep. And then I think that's why the stress piece comes in so close behind it or before it, because if you're stressed out, you're probably not sleeping. And if you're not sleeping, you're going to be more stressed out. And it's just like this loop. And then if you're dealing with family situation or whatever situation that's causing survival mode, that kind of needs to be managed in your mind as well. So you can get the rest that you need.
So simple, yet so effective. I agree.
I mean,
I mean,
yeah, I think the thing about I wonder with the exercise piece, that's something you can look at. Like, oh, I trained for 30 minutes today. I can lift more weight today, or this, I added more steps. But when we're taking, I don't want to say taking stuff away, but when we're being really mindful about the things that we're doing, like if we're minimizing stress, you can't see that. If we're getting
yes,
more sleep, you can't see that, unfortunately,
yes,
but you can feel it, right? And I mean, yeah, we
yeah,
should be more boastful about my sleep.
yeah,
We should be more boastful about sleep. Well, I got not in a boasting way, but just be like, yeah, I got sleep last night. I feel really good. And I'd be like, celebrate that. But then we just tend to think, take it for granted and move along. It's night school. There's a lot going on in there.
yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, I think that if there's anything that maybe people get from this call, at the very least, it's this idea that emphasis that maybe somebody has watching this towards exercise should shift towards sleep. Because when that happens, that is one of the easiest levers, switches that you can have happen that can transform the quality of your life and, more importantly, the sustainability of any actions that you put into place. The reason that we focus so much on the psychology of weight loss or the psychology of body transformation is because this is the foundational piece, the most foundational piece that allows all the mechanics and actions on top of it to actually stick.
Mhm. And to be
Without
more
this,
easy, right? You
yes,
know how you feel after a really good night's sleep. You're like everything feels smooth and it's all
yes,
not everything, but it just feels so much smoother and better.
yeah, 100%. I think I
Mhm.
remember hearing, I don't know, we were actually just talking about Brian Johnson before this, Brian
Mhm.
with a Y though, not the Liver
Yeah,
King,
we
Brian with a
found that
Y.
out. Mhm.
Yeah. Um, he's got his blueprint protocol, and one of the things he just talks about is his number one priority in life over everything, is sleep. And I can definitely, what's the word? Not empathize, but relate to
Attest to
that.
the magic and the
Yeah,
importance. Mhm.
definitely. Ever since making my sleep my priority, my life's never been the same in a good way.
Mhm.
Now, that's not to say that if in the middle of the night my wife needed to go to the hospital or like, my wife's, we're trying to get pregnant again. So, hey, her water breaks. It's time to go to the hospital. And hey, but I've only slept 4 hours. I'm not going to be like, all right, hey, that's great. I'll meet you there once I get my 9. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
It's, there's very few things that are severe enough to impact my sleep.
Hmm.
And that is just simply because of I know the difference. I know how it feels to be exhausted. And I think a lot of the RNs, at least that we work with in the beginning, are coming from that exhausted place. And it's not because they don't care in a lot of pieces, or at least with the ones I've worked with, it's because they care so much. They're giving everything to everybody else, pouring from an empty cup, and just kind of wondering when's someone going to take care of me?
Hmm.
But the unfortunate piece is the truth is that Calvary never comes. And it's up to us, ourselves. We have to essentially take control. And sometimes just getting some new beliefs from a coach, getting somebody that can help you see your worth, you're worth this, and also change beliefs around taking time for yourself. Because sometimes, I don't know if you've experienced this, I'm sure you have, because we've talked about it in the past. There's a erroneous belief that when you take care of yourself, you give less to others. And that's actually
Selfish.
couldn't be
Right.
further from the truth, right?
Hmm.
When you take care of yourself, yes, even if hypothetically you had less time totally, you are giving way more quality time to those people. And I'll tell you this, you probably will spend more time because you'll need less time coping emotionally from how you're
Good point.
feeling. You'll
Hmm.
probably need less time to like just exhaust yourself on Netflix
Hmm.
because you'll feel better initially. And
Right.
like, isn't that what we're trying to do with this whole thing? Like, isn't this less about weight loss and less about fitting in our jeans? And it's more just about feeling better. It's about, yes, having the confidence and the energy, the energy to be able to come home after a long shift. And instead of just plopping down on the couch because you need this time, instead you have the energy to go make a healthy dinner for yourself. And then of course that just puts you on a virtuous cycle, a positive feedback loop, and
Hmm.
starts forming that new identity. It's like, or the confidence, just all of this, like it all starts with sleep. Like if there's anything, if there's anyone who's out there that like isn't working with us already and is like, oh my God, I need a coach. I would say, you don't need a coach yet until you're starting to focus on your sleep.
Hmm.
Because I will tell you that is the first thing. And sometimes that takes a week or two to get down because it's so, oh my gosh, it's been so long. And we need to focus on a couple things like, hey, what are your bedtime rituals? A lot of people focus on setting alarms when they wake up.
Right.
When they become a client of ours, we do the opposite. We set alarms when you go to bed. And
Right.
I know it sounds weird, but we set alarms, 2 hours beforehand so that you can start your bedtime rituals. And our brain, our bodies love homeostasis. So if we can teach it what is going to happen consistently,
Hmm.
that is where everything really starts to flow. And that's where you need to put less attention towards things. And let's just say you go to bed at, I don't know, midnight every night or 11 o'clock. At 9, your body starts feeling tired because you're consistent, right? Even a
Hmm.
15 to 30-minute change in circadian rhythm can greatly impact your essentially how quickly you fall asleep and all that good stuff. So kind of interesting.
Hmm. That's fabulous. And it's free.
Well, yeah, we talked about that before, actually. Let me see if I
Hmm.
can find that because I always get a kick out of reading that. Like if it was, I think you know what I'm talking about, like
Hmm.
those,
Yeah, I do.
yeah, those pieces.
Can we speak to a side note though? Because the one of the
Please.
questions was asking about like broken sleep, basically, because you have children or people or the person sleeping next to you snores.
Okay.
So what do you think that could be helpful for people when that kind of challenge comes up? Since it seems like that was one of the questions that they were asked. I kind of think it's lowering the expectation. I don't think we are expected to sleep 8 straight hours. If you do, that's fantastic, but that's not really necessarily the goal. That means you're a good sleeper. Because some people, I think, just because of life matters, wake up more. But just imagine if you had that calming down routine. Hopefully, you did that brain dump and got that stress relief prior to going to sleep. Hopefully, you go back to sleep faster, even if you have that broken sleep.
And just for people maybe that are tuning in for the first time and aren't familiar with some of the words, what do you mean by brain dump?
Oh, the most unromantic thing ever. So it's like journaling, but it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be full sentences. Some people even get into doodling, but it's just to take the things that's bouncing around in your head and put it down on paper so it can kind of quiet the mind. And then you could
Mm.
prioritize your list from that if you want to. You can toss it in the trash and have that be part of your ritual. It's not here to write your memoirs or anything else like that, but it's just here to let go of the stuff, almost like you're sweeping out your brain, just like you sweep your house.
Or closing tabs in a browser.
There you go. More modern.
Yeah, I love it. No, I love it. I'm a big computer or grew up playing video games on computers, so
Mhm.
I definitely relate to that. Kayla, I don't know if you were referring to Kayla's comment, but Kayla, welcome to the group. Glad you're here. Kayla says, this is hard for me because I work 3 to 11, sometimes 3 to 3 a.m. So my sleep schedule is all over the place, probably why I feel drained consistently.
Right.
So it can be, right? Circadian rhythm is one of those things that it's like one of the last things that we'd want to, well, maybe not one of the last things, but it's one of the things that we want to be able to impact with sleep if it's in your control. If it's not, then hey, we accept it, right?
Mhm.
That's outside of our zone of control if we're not going to change, shift, and things
Careers,
like that,
jobs.
which might be something you do eventually. Like who knows,
Consider.
maybe like I've seen that happen often
Mhm.
with clients of mine in the past where they're like they get their whole life, a whole I mean truly like their whole life, but their whole body and fitness and nutrition locked in, and they're still looking to progress further, and they know that the overnights are killing their ability to get to that next level, and eventually they'll take like a whatever it is, a 5%, 10% pay cut, go from nights to days, and everything changes for them for the
Right.
positive.
Mhm.
But I'm not saying you have to do that. That's a
Right.
personal choice. But whatever you're going to do, accept, and then, okay, how can I optimize this? What I usually say is when it comes to my clients that would have like crazy schedules, or maybe even not just work nights, but in your case, like work second shift and then also third shift, is we would do just hey total amount of hours per week, because sometimes it can get a little bit tough. You're like, well, I slept 12 hours last night, but then I didn't sleep 24 hours total. So what's my sleep at? And we would just set a total week goal. So
Mhm.
yes, you'd feel more tired some days, maybe less tired others, but ultimately you would be feeling good overall. So that's like
Mhm.
a little note there. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I agree, and with the hectic schedules that some nurses or most nurses have, we've
Yeah.
even started doing that a little bit with calories and stuff too. You might notice
Mm,
because they work such a long shift, they don't even have time, but not that you have
that's a
to
great
make
point.
up, but just so you have a bigger picture, so we don't have to look just at the day, one night, how did we sleep? Kind of like a bigger picture out by the week. That's helpful.
And that I feel like that zooming out also is just such a good way mentally to approach this whole game, because we could look at it with nutrition as well. It's like it's easy to feel on a day like I get the question, what do I do? I have my son's graduation coming up. I have this special event. What do I do? And if you're already consistent 90% of the time, zooming out over the 365 days in a year, you're probably going to have 15 days that are like that.
Mhm.
Big events, whatever.
Holidays,
My
right.
thing, yeah, my advice is just enjoy yourself. Like,
Mhm.
sure, you could have like more protein in the morning leading up to the event. You could have more water, but just enjoy yourself, because 15 out of 365 days is what, less than 5%, right? It's like 4%.
Mhm.
If you were on track 96% of the time, don't you think it'd be pretty good?
Mm. That's an
I think
A.
so. I think that's an A plus, baby. Like you're
Yeah.
there. So I think sometimes it's when we stay so like myopic, so zoomed into like the
Mhm.
nuance of like, oh my God, I just ate something that was not ideal. And then we focus on that one thing, and that one thing is red and it's bad. I'm bad. And then that leads to a downward cycle where
Mhm.
one of the most empowering things we can do for ourselves is just, okay, I ate that thing, get some distance, right? Zoom out. Well, let's look at the last month. How am I doing? I know, like, even in business, that's something that we have to do consistently, right? Like,
Mhm.
imagine us, like, any big company, which we're not, but like any big company, and they have a big sales team, and like they're going to have fluctuations day to day. If
Mhm.
on one day they make no sales, could you imagine the sales leader coming and being like, "Hey, we're going down. The ship's going down. It's over,"
All in
right?
the red.
Right, right. But then the next day, uh, you know, everything's going great. I think the same thing's like investing in the stock market, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
red and it's like,
Sure.
oh my God, I'm gonna lose all this money. And the other way
Mhm.
is like, oh my God, we're winning. So I think that is important to zoom out over the week or the month to be able to know where you're at, you know?
Mhm.
We had hey, Rebecca's back. Rebecca says, oh my gosh, I made another one. Let's go. I appreciate you guys being here too. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to ask below. Talk about how to navigate the storm. You can like this so more people see it, and we'll keep rocking. Anything to add to that, Charity?
No, but I mean, look, we're talking about sleep, and what is my cat doing behind me? Like, be a cat.
Just be a cat. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be pretty. I know sometimes too, we live, especially with a lot of the RNs I work with or have worked with in the past, there was this almost like, I don't want to call it silent, but I'll say like there was this undertone of guilt that went along with sleeping
Mm,
and resting.
true. I've heard that.
And
Yep. I've had clients with
yeah,
that too. Hmm.
and I don't know if that's just because of upbringing or because of what the healthcare system kind of pushes towards you
Hmm.
as an RN, but
Hmm.
um, I think that it's dissolving that guilt and finding ways to dissolve that guilt. And sometimes it's just by changing beliefs, it's by shifting, getting new input. But by dissolving that guilt and not uh, just listening to your body, like one of the most powerful things actually for one of my clients that I'm thinking of is when she was tired and had the time, she would just allow herself to nap.
We
And she
give
would
you
start,
permission. If nothing else from this video,
yeah,
we give you permission to take a
please.
rest, to take a break, to sleep. It's all good.
Yeah, and she would just be
Mhm.
starting to take these 30 to sometimes 2 hours naps during the day, and it'd be like every other day or so. Even that just, like, helped her so drastically because if she was feeling tired, she would sleep and she'd start feeling better. She didn't have to, like, will herself to, like, push through because, "Oh, I'm not supposed to be tired in the middle of the day." It's like, "You just worked 12 hours the night before and only slept 6
Right.
hours, like, what do you
Isn't that the same
expect?"
with hunger cues too? Sometimes we kind of treat the same way with our
Sure.
bodies with hunger cues. Isn't it interesting how they kind of everything's connected and overlapping?
Yeah, and there's a lot of factors that go into this feeling, right?
Mhm.
You know, it's not just again, if we stay so zoomed in on the day, we could go, "Oh my god, I slept 12 hours last night and I'm still tired today.
Mhm.
Now I'm being lazy." Well, no. Let's say we zoom out over the last week and we look, "Oh my god, you only slept 25% of what you should.
Right.
Yes, you slept 12 hours last night, but you're still not even close to caught up, baby. You
Mhm.
need more." And that's why your body's still tired.
Mhm.
A lot of the times, if we just listen to the signals our body gives us, instead of trying to fix a signal, we listen to the signal. You
Mhm.
know, it's funny. I'll use this as an example. I went to the urgent care recently, and I'll be totally transparent. I went to urgent care recently because I had like this pain in my lower abdomen, and it had been increasingly increased. And this is going back a little while. And I was like, oh my God, what could it be? I'm looking online. It's like bladder cancer. I'm like, okay. I'm like, maybe I got to just go in.
Right.
So I go in and they're like, okay, 40% chance you have like a UTI. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Or, you know, it could be something else that we don't know about. I'm like, cool. Get on that medication. I end up not needing it. I didn't have that. And shit, what was the reason I brought this up? What were we talking about right before this? Give me
We're
my
talking
plan
about
of
like
thought.
zooming out for 7 days. It's okay
Okay,
to
zooming out.
sleep. Okay.
Zooming out. Which I actually can't remember why I brought this up, but I'll finish the story. Shit. Sorry. So zooming out a little bit. Uh, long story short, it was the food I was eating. So I was having way too much carbonation. It was like painful bladder syndrome. I had too much carbonation, too much acidic foods. I fixed my nutrition. Everything changed. My PBS symptoms went away. Oh, now I remember because we don't want to try to fix a symptom. I was talking to the doctor there and she said, "Hey, let me give you some medication that will fix your symptoms, that will make it so that you maybe don't have as much pain." And I told her, "Well, is it going to fix any of the cause?" And she said, "Well, no." And I
Underlying.
said, "Then I don't want it."
Mhm.
And here's why. It's because not because I'm so tough and because I'm so, you know, whatever. It's because if there's a problem, I don't want to not feel it.
You don't want to
because
turn off the
that
signal, right?
correct, because that
Right.
means that I'm just going to make the cause potentially worse. And we
Mhm.
could look at sleep or hunger or anything the same way. If your
Mhm.
body is tired, caffeine is not the answer.
Right.
All that's going to do is just make you feel better in the moment, but you're actually making the
That's
cause
fine.
potentially worse,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Which is not what we want to hear. But like, if you really want to know where your body's at, which is like kind of scary to do because the first time I did it, I was not a very pleasant person, is you take away all your stimulants and you really know how tired you are.
Mhm.
I remember the first week I took away my stimulants a year ago or two years back, something like that. I was tired for 4 or 5 days, and I was sleeping like 9 hours a night. And
Mhm.
I would take like a 30-minute nap middle of the day, and I was not nearly as productive working. What is that? And then but here's the thing, after that week, I took caffeine again. I was like on another level. The highs were insane, right? The focus. But
Mhm.
all that to say, I didn't realize how tired I actually was, how much rest my body actually needed. Because when you take caffeine, you're actually shutting down that signal,
Mhm.
which is kind of interesting.
Hmm.
We had some comments come in as well. Uh, Rebecca says, "Have all these things, have all these things that have to be done when you get home. It's also hard because the schedule is always changing. It's a nightmare with 24-hour shifts. I only got 4 hours last night. Let's not mention hot flashes that wake you up." She also says, "Since I started this program, I've been working on my guilt, and now I feel guilt. I don't feel guilty for resting and recovery." Let's go! That is a huge victory.
It is.
You know, Rebecca, it is so powerful to hear, in my opinion, mental victories.
Mhm.
I hold mental victories in way higher esteem than physical ones. And that's usually reversed in today's culture because everyone wants to see the
Mhm.
before and after. Everyone wants to see, like, oh my God, where were you? Where are you now? Wow, that's great. But ultimately, what is a better predictor of long-term results? The physical change or the mental change?
Mhm.
The mental change. Now, can you have both? Yeah, of course. But if you had to choose one, or if I had
I
to
would.
choose one for a client of
Mhm.
mine, and the goal is long-term sustainable weight loss for years, we choose the mental.
Mhm.
And that is why, like in Kira's case, I'm sure you guys saw Kira's progress photos. She had posted them. Looking at that, she's lost, 20 pounds in 20 weeks. From the outside looking in, they go, big deal. 20 pounds in 20 weeks? That's 1 pound a week. I could do faster than that. But what a lot of people that aren't privy to the way we think are thinking of is just the end result and not maintaining the end result. In Kira's post, she talks a lot about, hey, now she has the same ups and downs, but they don't last nearly as long. The
Mhm.
ups are higher and the downs are shorter, and
Mhm.
she's going to keep going,
Mhm.
right? Predictor of long term success. She's got it. This is
Mhm.
the slowest, I believe. I was talking to her recently. This is the slowest she's ever lost weight, but this is also the most consistent she's ever been with her actions.
Mhm.
And what does this tell me? What is the likelihood that she's going to be consistent 1 year from now? Very high,
Mhm.
very high. And guess what? 1 year from now is going to happen whether we focus on it or not.
True.
And she doesn't have 52 more pounds to lose.
Mhm.
So in 1 year, and less than that, like probably half a year, she will be at her final goal, maintaining it, and thinking to herself, huh, now what? I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
And
And
did you
that's
see
what
her little gift that she sent to everybody else she wants? Because I asked how we could celebrate and party with her, and she says, "Yeah, to just celebrate the little things because they matter."
I didn't see that yet.
Yep.
Celebrate the little things, truly. I
Yep.
love that. That's
Mhm.
that's so good.
Yeah.
This is a mental game. It's a mental game, and as unsexy as that sounds, that is the truth. So if there's anything we can do, like if you really want, if anyone is out there and they want to make this time different, they want to be able to really transform their body and truly sustain it forever. The way we're going to do that is by shifting the way we think. as unsexy as that sounds. And the only way to shift the way you think is to get new input, new ideas, and then to have them be so consistent that your thinking changes, your actions change permanently, and your results change permanently. Instead of just trying to cheat the system and jump in and say, tell me what to do, what are the actions, go. And then you get better results. And then you're here, you're spinning for a little bit, but your thinking never changes, your input never changes. And once the coach is gone, there go all your results. Where in Kira's case, Kira is not working with us anymore, right? She worked with you, I believe, for, was it 12 weeks? Charity?
It might have been 12 or 24. I don't really
12,
remember.
24. Yeah, it's going back now some time, right? That was last year. But she's still going. And that's the point. This is not about like, you know, what is it? I remember I talked to somebody before. This is going way back, and I told them about the business model. I was like, hey, we're going to help people transform their body and actually sustain it forever. And he goes, that's a terrible business model. And I'm like, why? And he goes, because you're essentially like, you're firing, you're having people that no longer need you anymore because you're helping them too much. And I said, so be it. Right. And it actually has helped us a lot as a business, even because now we get a ton of referrals. So it's I think it's actually a good thing for the business, but even if it wasn't, it's okay. Because I really do believe that at the end of the day, if we can help somebody transform and sustain their body forever, that's significant. And not a lot of coaching programs, I don't think, can say that they do that or do it well. So you rock, Charity.
Lifestyle, spread it around.
You rock, Charity. It's all because of you. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to brag on Charity for a second. Charity was
oh dear, do you have to stay? No.
You do. Charity was the first coach we brought on, and she broke a huge belief for me as we're talking about beliefs. So for those of you who don't know, I've been a coach now for 16 years. All started with my mom's transformation, and I did not believe that there was any coach out there, because I had really never met one that I would feel good enough to say, hey, we have someone that wants to do this. I'm going to hand them off to you. I did not think they were out there. Like, I thought like maybe they were out there, but I'd never, like, they're so few that I'm never going to find them. And that was my belief. And because that was my belief, we never grew this company. It was just always me. And then she was the first person after 100 or 124 interviews that I was like, she could be the one. And she was. And flash forward.
And now you believe that there's more of us out there, right? That there's
we do have more. We have Coach Rachel, we have Coach Sharon, and very soon we have some people that, I don't want to give away any spoilers,
right?
But we have some people that are in the pipeline that are, you know, in the talks right now. But like I always kid and I say our coaching, like, to become a coach on our team, it has a lower acceptance rate than Harvard. Because
we're the 1%.
Well, because of all the interviews, of all the applications, and then of those applications that turn into like first calls, and then of those first calls that turn into like onboarding, and that turn into a coach coming on the team, it's less than 1%. And because I feel like you know, when somebody, I don't take it lightly when somebody comes onto this program, because I know the position that they're coming from. A lot of times they're coming from a position where it's been, you know, it's feeling a bit fragile. It's been years that they've been trying to solve this problem. And with that has come a lot of failure and a lot of disappointment. And to be able to put themselves on the line again and say, okay, I trust you. This time I think can be different. I don't take that lightly. And I don't want to have ever a possibility of a coach on this team that is not going to be able to get somebody over the line that is truly invested.
Lots of trust and vulnerability. It's inspiring and beautiful.
I mean, that's what it's about, you know. I mean, but it's tough, man. It's so tough. I was talking to the enrollment coach team about this earlier this week. It's tough because, like, truly to experience that level of failure for a long time. I use the analogy of the elephant at the circus. I don't know if you remember that analogy. So I feel like the position that a lot of people get into when they've tried to transform their body for so many years and just have had failure after failure after failure is it's kind of like if you've ever wondered why there's an elephant outside of the tent of the circus with his ankle tied up to a rope, tied up to a stake of the tent. You having really any reasonable thought know that that elephant, it's a full-grown elephant, it can rip
Pull the
down the
team
whole
down. Right.
entire tent, but
Mhm.
it doesn't. So when you go over to the trainer and you ask, the trainer will say, "Oh, well, when he's a baby,
Mhm.
we tie his ankle to the stake of the tent, and oh, he gives it a good go for about a few months, a few weeks to a few months, until one day we'll come out and we'll see that he's not pulling anymore." And eventually he grows up and becomes a big, strong adult elephant and has all the power possible to be able to escape and rip down this tent, but he doesn't. Why not? Because he's made up in his mind that it is not going to happen for him
Right.
for whatever reason. Oh, well, the rope's too tight. The tent's too strong. I'm too weak. Whatever. And maybe elephants don't have that level of conscious thought, but I don't know. They say they're really smart and remember everything. But the point is that the elephant made up in its mind that it cannot do it, so it will never try again when it literally has all the power to do it.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's a position that a lot of us get in with this in weight loss because, like, to be honest, there's a lot of bad actors out there. There's a lot of people that make really big promises like, oh, yeah, we're going to help you lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks. And then, oh, yeah, of course we'll sustain it. When, like, yeah, if you're lucky, or like, they don't focus on the underlying.
I
So
like the idea that even though you made the things, you didn't fail if you learned something, of course. But then
that's
also, what
true.
about this time is different? You're different now. Things have changed. Why not now? Why couldn't this time be completely different?
Right. Yeah. So I think if there's just anyone out there listening that's like that, maybe has fallen into a rut of thinking that their body is different or that it won't happen for them or that, it's not for me because of this or because I'm too busy or because of whatever, um, you can do it. I promise you.
Mhm.
This time can be different.
You
You
are
can break
capable.
through.
That seems to be a really powerful affirmation word for ladies. You are capable.
Yeah. And I will say too, that's not me selling this program standing on a soapbox. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be us. Like, I'll be really clear. It doesn't have to be us. It can be anything. It can be just the one thing I would highly suggest, just from the experience I have or we have, is focus on the mind. Get your psychology in the right place. Start reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear or Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg and start to learn about how, even just like the basic neuroscience of like how humans are designed, our hardware. We're always going to be pulled towards pleasure and move away from pain. So if all your actions can align with human nature, you no longer have to rely on willpower. You will be pulled towards it, which I know sounds crazy that,
Mhm.
oh my God, I can be pulled towards exercise. You must be crazy. That will never happen to me. It can, or at least you can make it so that it's not requiring willpower. I'm
Mhm.
not saying like you'll wake up in the middle of the night, oh boy, I can't sleep because I'm so excited to work out. That's not what I'm saying. But there is something about being in a position where it does not take any effort. There's no resistance you're fighting against to perform a healthy action.
Right.
It is just
It's what you do.
who you are,
Mhm.
what you do.
Yep.
Any other, I know there's 10 of you watching. I can hear you breathing. Any, any comments, concerns, or not concerns, comments, questions? There we go. Maybe concerns. I don't know. Maybe you're concerned for my well-being. Feel free to like this video too. It helps it reach more people. Uh, Charity, any other thoughts? I know I've been talking quite a bit.
I think that the closing thought would just be, or it doesn't have to be closing, but you have permission to rest and to sleep, and you can
Yes,
take the guilt card and just leave it out.
100%. If there's any belief I can leave you guys with as well, it is that the best is yet to come,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Life is always happening for you, not to you.
Mhm.
And whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And I know that's literally just annoying platitudes back to back, but they are ones that, if you really do believe, can shape your life.
Mhm.
When something bad happens to you, you've probably heard of that expression, adversity is a terrible thing to waste. It's true. When something bad happens to you, it doesn't need to be because, oh, well, bad things always happen to me because I'm a victim. Why me? No, you can learn something from it.
Mhm.
It's a signal, right? The pain I had in my bladder was a signal, right? And I can either look at that and I can say, well, you know, my bladder sucks. Or I can say, well, it's because of the food I'm eating. Let me shift the food. And hey, what's something I can learn from this experience? Well, maybe one of the things I took away was I should probably go to the PCP more often, right? I haven't gone to a PCP in like 2 years. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Let me set that back up. What else can I learn from this experience? Well, hey, actually, maybe I should refocus on my nutrition again because over the last 2 years, I've kind of just gotten to this place that, yeah, I eat 80% healthy, but I've increased the frequency of like kind of crap I'm eating.
Mhm.
Maybe I should, get more mindful, hone in a little bit more. What else can I learn from this? Right. And the list goes on. So when bad things happen to you, just know that there are good things. It's kind of like that silver lining. So, anyway.
Good stuff.
Cindy says, love you guys so much. Cindy, we love you.
Yay, Cindy. Woohoo!
Cindy, we love you. We made this group to be able to impact the healthcare system, the healthcare, what do you want to call it? Have our little dent on healthcare. Our goal is to impact 100,000 RNs and healthcare workers. We know that's going to take a really long time to do. Even though we have 8,300 RNs in this group, which is insane to me that there's that many. But yeah, that's incredible. Very cool. So, but yeah, so thanks for being here. Thanks for being engaged. That's all. Rebecca says, thank you for not going to the ER. UC is the place to be for that. Yeah. I went to the urgent care first and then started changing nutrition, and that seemed to help it. So that was good. Lauren sends a lot of hearts. Welcome to the group, Lauren. Thank you for the hearts. Likewise. All right, we're done. We'll see you guys tomorrow with Coach Rachel. If there's a comment or if there's a topic you want us to cover, feel free to drop it in the comments, like this video, invite a friend to the group. I don't know what else to say. Bye.
Being amazing.
Oh, I'll put a link somewhere if you want to apply to work with us. You can follow that link or you can go to rnbodytransformations.com. Bye.